Over the course of the past week, the hip-hop community allowed anticipation to override their better judgment. To the legions of fans around the world, Kanye West's Jesus is King remains under lock and key, save for the few public listening sessions that garnered both adulation and outrage over its allegedly blasphemous contents. A once transparent rollout has now been engulfed by uncertainty. Although the delay is a hot-button issue, those who've charted Ye's career from critical darling to former cultural pariah are all too accustomed to delays. Since the embryonic stages of his career, Kanye's release slate has always been subject to sharp reappraisal. Even in the College Dropout's closing monologue of Last Call, we heard the interchangeable nature of Kanye's vision play out. So I played, actually it's a song that you'll never hear, but maybe I might still use it. So it's called Wow, he remembered. After relaying it to the entire world, Kanye still requested we don't bite the chorus, I might still use it. And in many ways, this is starkly similar to how the DNA of Love Everyone was then spliced into Yandhi, before giving way to a third unreleased project in quick succession. And at this stage, his array of cancelled or otherwise rejigged projects are beginning to outweigh the amount that have actually surfaced. Amid all the discussion about when an album will drop and what reconfigured form it will arrive in, the question no one's asking is why these obstructions happen in the first place. So without further ado, it's time to dive into the psyche of Kanye West and pinpoint the common threads that lead to these disruptions. According to a TMZ source, the reason behind Jesus is King's curtailed release is simple. Kanye isn't satisfied with the end result. The album is complete, but Ye keeps tweaking it, they were told. Every time he listens, there's something he wants to change. There's no release date anymore. Through this revelation, it opens us up to the first explanation for the downfall of so many hotly anticipated projects: perfectionism. In many ways, this diagnosis is entirely plausible. After all, this is an artist that infamously makes Stronger 75 times in an attempt to sonically outdo Timbaland's The Way I Are. Then, after it underwent a number of redesigns, from Swish to So Help Me God and beyond, 2016's The Life of Pablo saw Kanye turn the album format on its axis. Upon renouncing physical copies, Ye declared that his 7th studio album was a living, breathing, changing, creative expression. Suffice to say, he kept his word and reportedly fine-tuned it to new specifications through February of 2018. Considering that even Big Sean thought Cruel Winter was dropping sooner than you think back in 2013, it's clear that Kanye will only unveil a project when it resembles what he's conceived in his mind. Awed and bemused in equal measure, Justin Vernon, otherwise known as Bon Iver, offered crucial insight into the Ye collaborator experience, and through his testimony, we see a fine line between micromanagement and a relentless search for the next surge of inspiration. I definitely witnessed how you can have music be cooking on a stove, like over here, and you can respond to it, he explained to Zane Lowe. If you're like Kanye, you can wait and there's gonna be cooks in all sorts of kitchens. You get to say no to a lot of things until you're very sure you like something. So there's all sorts of drawbacks there, but he cares about music a lot. The exact methodical commitment that led Pusha T to lament over his 10-day, $7,000 per night stay in Wyoming, this frenetic approach leads us to another possible explanation for why so many of Ye's projects remain unresolved. Much like Kanye loves Kanye, Kanye also knows himself better than anyone else. And he has been clear to everyone that's charted his journey, impulsivity plays a major role in his life. Whether it's his emotional approach to George Bush in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, or storming the stage to voice his displeasure about Taylor Swift's VMA win, Ye is governed by his convictions over any marketing strategies or PR. Due to his commitment to pursuing what's right at that exact moment, his projects are often born from a creative whim or, as he terms it, free thinking. I think an extreme thing, I adjust it, I adjust it, I adjust it, he explained to the New York Times. That's the way I get to it, but I have to push to, the furthest concept possible. Operating within an uncharted headspace and his well-documented struggles against bipolar disorder, Kanye's window into his creative process goes a long way to explaining where the abruptions come from. Where most artists would think pragmatically about where they can and can't go with their art from the comfort of their studio, Ye lets the refinement process happen before our eyes. By remaining true to his own free-thinking philosophy, Kanye brings his every decision under public scrutiny and has made a habit of pulling himself back from the brink. I am putting my career, my life, my public well-standing at risk when I talk to y'all like this, he told a Sacramento crowd back in 2016, foretelling his uncertain 2018 where he was deemed to be canceled by many former fans. Time and time again, from the many alleged iterations of Good Ass Job, from TurboGrafx 16, Kanye has yielded on a creative direction and left audiences hanging. Then, when the pressure mounts, his erratic flights of fancy become more frequent as he wrestles an idea from his extreme point to something more palatable. So, when he initially planned to incorporate sounds that you never heard before and have concepts about body shaming and women being looked down upon for how many people they slept with on Yandhi, we saw the basis of Jesus is King at its most unfiltered, and before he inserted a spiritual focus that allowed him to take back control of his narrative. Said to operate within a whirlwind of things happening, Tame Impala's Kevin Parker bore the brunt of Ye's ever-changing remits during the Wyoming sessions in much of the same way as his fans pined for clarification of what's to come. But judging by his 2019 interview with David Letterman, the polarizing artist's ability to keep audiences in the dark may not be perfectionism at all, but a concerted effort to retain control of his own story. When a penchant for misdirection that ranged from staging elaborate hoaxes to masquerading as his alter ego Tony Clifton, Kanye's admiration for the late Andy Kaufman makes a lot of sense when you consider how he bucks expectation and shifts gears on the public. He gave me courage, how you deal with the media. I'd rather be an Andy Kaufman than the majority of the way people are letting the media push them around. I'm in front of the joke, Kanye proclaimed. The joke is on everyone else. Now, with all the turmoil that surrounded him over the past 2 years, there's a lot riding on Jesus is King in terms of not just musical quality, but how its contents are interpreted. As such, whatever driving force that's previously informed his multitude of delayed, canceled, or otherwise amended projects will have been drastically heightened. As a result, Jesus is King is every bit as important to Kanye's legacy as a debut album or avoiding the dreaded sophomore slump, and consequently, the forces that caused previous records to fall by the wayside are working overtime now. Whether Ye is plagued by making sure each note is pristine, subjects his albums to some face-saving self-censorship, or simply delights in throwing the media off the scent, we're all still waiting on the edge of our seat to see what will eventually emerge. This has been a Hip Hop Madness original. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date on everything we got going on by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HipHopMadness and join the movement.